Thank you for joining us for another episode of Exposing Scientology, where we reveal what really goes on inside this business masquerading as a church. Hi, everyone. Here we are.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Christie pushing like crazy to become more professional. That also now we use as the intro to the podcast episodes that we are converting these YouTube videos into podcasts, because so many people ask, as you guys have already been doing, because you know that is a popular format for people who don't, I guess that they don't want to just listen to YouTube without looking at it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people listen to podcasts on their way to work, or while they're gardening, or while they're working out, or going for a walk. I mean, I do it all the time. I listen to podcasts all the time in place of radio anymore, really. So it's helpful in that format.
I know, but why is that such a good format? Why can't they just do it on YouTube?
Because they listen a lot. 54% of the people who download the Blown for Good podcast, they listen on a phone, and they listen on the Apple Podcast app. So they're on the Apple Podcast app. It's familiar. It's something that they use all the time. So it's easy to just click on.
Yeah, and there's another factor too, which is that if you don't have a paid subscription on YouTube, you have to have your phone on all the time, which is not like if you whereas podcast, you can just, it can be in sleep mode or whatever you call it, like not activated.
It just downloads. If you are a follower or a subscriber to that podcast, it just downloads every episode we do. And so when you go to your phone, it's just sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty then. Now, thank you for explaining that.
Of course.
I'm sure everybody that's watching this understands it, and I'm the only dinosaur here that doesn't get it. But
no.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Well, we already got 1,000 people in here.
We're learning
this
we're
live
learning
right
the
now.
interwebs, us born in a cult folk.
Right. I think we're doing pretty good, Mike, considering.
Yeah.
all right, honey. Well, all credit to Christie.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Like the football players say when they're being interviewed after they just won the game. All credit to God.
Yeah, there you go. Hail
the other
Christie.
team not so much, but
Okay.
I do the all credit to Christie. Oh, actually, I should be going that way.
Yeah, there you go. I know it gets so confusing.
Okay, well,
counterintuitive.
We're going to talk about a subject that is unfortunately very real to all of us, which is disconnection.
Yep.
We're going to do a little bit of an historical background, and then talk about why this has come up as a subject to discuss today. As you probably are aware, for many, many, many years, Scientology, this has been a real thorn in the side of Scientology. People have said, you break up families, you have this policy of forcing people to be disconnected from their families or their friends, and they lose their jobs. And, it's been one of the things that Scientology has had the most difficulty dealing with. And for many, many, many years, the solution to that problem was to simply claim it was not true. I mean, they literally are quoted all over the media saying there is no such thing as disconnection. It does not exist. Every now and then they'll throw in the sort of like, as you characterize it. But they basically have said disconnection is a fallacy. It is one of those inventions of the bitter defrocked apostates on the fringes of the internet who make up terrible stories about how bad Scientology is and how everything is rotten, but it's actually not that case at all. We're the nicest people in the world. We're so pro-family. We help people reconnect with their families. Oh, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, they double down when they say that's not a such thing, and they even say, in Scientology, we value the family, and we encourage our members to be very connected to their family members and respect the religious beliefs. They try to make it like, oh, they believe, if your family members are not Scientologists and they believe in another religion. And we're like, yeah, we're not talking about any of that.
Yeah. Well,
Nope.
and there is a very famous clip, which Mark kindly brought to the table today, of Tommy Davis on CNN responding to questions about this. And I just wanted to start with that because it's like the perfect framework of putting all this into context.
Yes.
Here we go.
Something about the church, and this is what this group Anonymous is protesting. They claim that the church separates family members, and there is this practice of disconnection, where if you're a member of the Church of Scientology, to the best of my understanding here on this issue, because I'm not a member and I don't fully understand it, but if you're a member of the Church of Scientology and someone in your family or a friend or your spouse is skeptical or critical of the Church of Scientology, you are supposed to disconnect yourself from that person. And Jenna Miscavige Hill, who is a niece of the church's leader, David Miscavige, says that happened to her, which is the reason she left the church a couple of years ago. And she now has a website bringing together former members of the Church of Scientology to talk about issues like this.
Well, I mean, first of all, this is a perfect example of how the internet turns things and twists things. There's no such thing as disconnection as you're characterizing it, and certainly you have to understand.
Well, what is disconnection?
Scientology is a new religion. You have the majority of Scientologists in the world, they're first generation, so their family members aren't going to be Scientologists and this kind of thing. And Scientology absolutely mandates, and it's really part of the code of being a Scientologist to respect the religious beliefs of others. So certainly, someone who's a Scientologist is going to respect their family members' beliefs.
And
we consider family to be a building block of any society. So anything that's characterized as disconnection or this kind of thing, it's just not true. There isn't any such policy that in the church that's dictating who people should or should not be in communication with. You know, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that
Doesn't happen.
every Scientologist that watched that yelled at the screen and said, "Bullshit, Tommy. I haven't talked to my sister in 27 years because of that policy."
On the positive side, that one clip from Tommy Davis alone is probably responsible for what, like the exit of about thousands of Scientologists, no question asked.
It planted another seed.
Yes.
It just planted one more seed.
Blatantly lie like
Oh,
that.
they lie. Okay, they lie to the media.
Well, and you know, one of those people that left following that was Paul Haggis.
Yep.
Right.
This was one of the big motivations, that and the gay marriage bill in California. I mean, when Paul saw that, he was like, this is outrageous. My wife was forced to disconnect from her parents. You know that, Tommy. And he told Tommy directly, like, you know that this is exactly what happened. You're totally familiar with this is what happened. And you go on international TV and lie about it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
And
why
that wasn't that in 2009, approximately 2010?
I think it was 2009.
I think it was 2010, but yeah, either 9 or 10.
Let's not forget, Tommy Davis himself blew the Sea Org after that and is no longer in Scientology. He will still, he'll say no comment if you ask him about anything. He won't throw them under the bus, but he certainly isn't at the org doing courses or counseling these days.
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Right. All of us here have experienced this personally. All of the four of us, our family members have all disconnected from us on the basis of being ordered to do so by Scientology.
Without being able to have a conversation with us personally.
Correct. And
Yeah, he also said that the majority of Scientologists are first generation Scientologists, which we all shook our head at because all of us here are basically second generation.
We are.
We are.
We are.
Yeah.
None of us got into Scientology of our own volition.
Yeah.
We all got in either at birth or as a
shortly
result
after.
of our parents
Right.
getting into Scientology. So
Exactly.
yeah, like
And
and even Tommy Davis is a second generation Scientologist for crying out loud.
And
And
also,
probably the majority
so
of
is David-
Scientologists these days are second generation Scientology. New people aren't getting into Scientology.
Yeah, and that's
Thanks to Google.
Yeah, and that's the clincher is that they're disconnecting Scientologists from former Scientologists. They're not disconnecting Scientologists from a person who believes in another religion. It's connecting Scientologists from ex-Scientologists.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that is the one religious belief that Scientology does not stand behind.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, they don't stand behind any of them, but they say they do. They
Yeah.
say that they support the rights of everybody to have whatever religious belief they choose, with one exception. I'm not a Scientologist is the religious belief that they absolutely do not countenance.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
Hail
that's
Xenu.
the terrible. Yep. And, you know, we have all told our stories of disconnection. And, you know, this is actually Christie was on the front page of the New York Times, Sunday edition of the New York Times, telling her story about disconnection. I don't know if you guys know that, but this is her and her former husband, Chris, breaking with Scientology. Front page of the New York Times, and on Anderson Cooper and a bunch of other people. And
The Today
I have
Show,
done it.
Matt
and
Lauer.
Matt and Mark and Claire have done this and been on numerous TV interviews and traveling. Mark, you went to Germany and testified about it. I mean, we have all talked about this ad infinitum because it is horrendous what Scientology does, but it's so galling that they lie so blatantly about it when there's so many people that know that it's a lie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And because they have no real way to defend it besides just saying it doesn't happen. If they said it happened, people would be like, well, why are you doing that? That's I know. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cruel.
So what sort of prompted this discussion today is an article that I saw, and it was in Yahoo Life and Style, and it talked about Danny Masterson's estranged wife, Bijou Phillips, will have to cut ties with him amid Scientology expulsion. Okay. Who knows if that's really true? You know, the rules are different for celebrities. But in the context of that article, they reached out to Scientology, and I don't know, I can't remember whether Scientology even answered, but they went to the website that Scientology uses. Oh, yes, they did. Scientology answered. Corrine Powers quoted, and I then went to the website and went, wait a minute, what is this that they're saying? Because they have completely changed what they say on the Scientology website now. This is the page, what does suppressive person mean? And you will see, to be declared a suppressive person is extremely rare and results in expulsion from the Scientology religion. Commitment of acts deemed suppressive acts in the Scientology Justice Code, which includes the suppressive act of publicly renouncing the faith, an act which in Scientology, as well as almost every religion, is grounds for automatic expulsion. Okay, so here is Scientology actually stating that if you have publicly renounced Scientology, you are a suppressive person. It then goes on to say, when someone has been expelled from the religion, that person loses both his or her fellowship with the church as well as with other Scientologists. The condition lasts until they have been restored to good standing. Once the person has been restored to good standing, the prohibition against fellowship with other Scientologists is lifted. Scientology is actually now coming out and saying that even though they're using the euphemism losing fellowship,
which Hubbard has never said that word fellowship in any policy.
they're trying. I mean, this is how bad things have gotten in Scientology. They are trying to identify that they are similar to the Jehovah's Witnesses, because that's what it's called. It's called disfellowshipping in the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yep.
They're trying to get themselves up to the level of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
But that statement blatantly, flat out says that Scientology declares people as suppressive persons if they publicly disavow Scientology. That means saying anything negative about Scientology. And that as a result, any Scientologist is required to not be in communication with them until the church says, or Scientology says, the person is restored to good standing, at which point they may again have fellowship with them.
Right.
Yeah. So it just highlights the point that it's a one-way street into Scientology. If you want to maintain relationship with your family, there is no way to do that going into and then out of Scientology.
There's no way to leave Scientology with ease. You cannot join Scientology and leave Scientology, unscathed. If you leave, you will be hurt somehow, some way. There's no way to just leave and actually tell anyone, I'm not a Scientologist anymore. You can't say that. You cannot say those words without being punished.
Right. And if you do, then you will never get your family back unless you go back into Scientology. Right. It's insanity.
And if you have family members that are in Scientology, if they don't disconnect from you, then they will also be declared a suppressive person, and then they won't be able to talk to anybody. So it is this Sophie's choice thing where you either lose one family member or do you lose all your family members, and so that's how they do this. It's like trying to getting out of Scientology is like trying to cancel a Sirius XM subscription or something. I mean, it's just almost impossible.
So my first experience with Disconnection was when I was 15 years old. And Mark, Kelly Wasserman. Yeah. Remember Kelly? We went to school with Kelly at Delphi. Yes. And Kelly's father was declared a suppressive person. And Kelly was given Sophie's choice. She had to either disconnect from her father or her mother. So temporarily, she chose to disconnect from her father and stayed connected to her family, her mother and her sisters. And then after about a year or so, she decided, no, this is not cool. I never wanted to disconnect from my father. And she reconnected with her father, and the rest of her family completely abandoned her. And I was really good friends with her. We were best friends. And I said to my father, I don't want to disconnect from Kelly. She's my best friend. What do I do? I'm 15. And my dad said to me, if you don't disconnect from Kelly, I'm going to disconnect from you. Wow. And that's literally what happens. I'm 15.
I had no idea about Kelly that happened to her. Did she never go back into Scientology after that?
Never went back in, and
oh my goodness,
has a whole other story. But at that point in time, I was forced to officially disconnect. My first time ever at a 15-year-old child from my best friend, because my father was like, I will disconnect from you. Like, I live in his house. I rely on him for everything. And he's literally telling me, you disconnect from this person or you are out. Like, at 15, this is what my father is telling me. This is how serious Scientology believes these policies.
Yep.
Wow.
That's insane. Yeah.
But I just want to make another point, though, which is this is another little indicator of Scientology being forced to change by outside pressure. Mm-hmm. This is, we know now that they no longer, if a woman gets pregnant in the Sea Org, there's no discussion of abortions anymore. That is because of what has happened, exposing this practice. Mm-hmm. The fact that Scientology now admits on their website that they engage in disfellowshipping people, and that this is something that is enforced by Scientology and only gets unenforced when the person comes back into Scientology or is restored to good standing. That is very, very different than what they have said for many years. And I take it as an accomplishment for all the people who have spoken out, who have spoken up, who have made the point that this practice is going on and has been going on the entire time, and that families have been being broken up. It's not stopping them from doing it, but at least it's forced them to have to admit that they do it. And that's like, I know it sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but this sort of thing is very, very, this change did not happen easily. I promise you, this change in how they present what the story of disconnection is was not a decision that was made lightly. And they decided that they were going to change this because they were worried about the problem that it will generate if someone ultimately gets before a court or law enforcement and is describing this, and then they go and pull up the Scientology website and it's just a lie.
Right.
Their credibility keeps being challenged and proven to be incredible. And I just want everybody that's watching this, everybody who has ever stood up and said something about disconnection, to take a little moment and go, hey, we had a little victory here. This is a little victory. We haven't ended disconnection, not by any stretch, but it's moving actually in the right direction. Because if they're so worried about that and what they're saying about it, they're also worried about the ramifications of doing it.
Right.
Yeah. And we can call it disconnection. We can call it disfellowship. We can call it whatever they want to call it. It's still ridiculous.
Of course it is. But also, if we think back, like, we know certain things that happen inside Scientology and the organization. The strictness with which this is enforced these days is way less than it used to be. We have heard a lot of stories now of people who have been allowed to go and visit family members who were very ill or dying in hospital or something, that back in the day when I was in the Sea Org, it would never have happened. Those people would never have been allowed to go off on a compassionate leave to see a dying family member who had been declared SP.
Yeah.
And it is happening now. So that was what I've dominated this conversation. Sorry, guys, but this was just sort of, this came to my attention and I was like, holy tamale. I don't know that anybody has really focused on this. I certainly hadn't until that article came out.
Yeah. And I think it's funny that they have their international spokesperson on TV saying the exact opposite thing that their website now says. So that does give you a glimpse into how Scientology works. As they will, when they're on TV, they'll tell you whatever they think TV wants to hear. At the moment, they don't think anyone's going to go look up a Scientology policy after they watch the CNN episode. But all the Scientologists that are watching, they know the policy inside and out. So it's ridiculous if you're in Scientology when they lie, because they really do know exactly what Mike said. The policy has been heavily enforced for the last 70 years.
Yeah.
They did learn from the Tommy Davis mistake. Doesn't matter if we're $1 billion cult, best not to have any public person speak publicly about Scientology on national television ever.
Unless she's your lawyer and you can just fire her after she says something stupid.
Yeah.
We're talking about Blinky McBlinkface.
Has she ever said anything about disconnection? I can't remember. like on TV?
I think that she got asked about it somewhere, maybe with Tommy Davis when she was interviewed on the Anderson Cooper thing.
Yeah,
I think when they were sitting there together, and I think that she has resorted to the same, there is no such policy as you characterize it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Answer. You know,
and that might have been a Dave. That might have just very well. I don't think Monique said it because Tommy said it. I think Tommy and Monique said it because that's what Dave told them. Hey, you gotta. This doesn't exist as you're characterizing it. So that's another thing that Tommy does in that interview. He answers that guy. He doesn't answer the questions that the guy's asking. He's trying to get out the statement that he's been preloaded by David Miscavige to give. And so he starts talking about other religions and stuff like that. Instead of saying, hey, did that happen? He's asking about Jenna. She said that happened. Did that happen? And then he just says some other thing. He never answers the question. That's called a no answer in Scientology.
Or a newspeak transcript dictated by David Miscavige, whichever way.
Okay, I just saw something in the comments that I want to pull up here.
I saw it too, Mike.
I went, oh my God. And on Mike, you're being too generous. It is also still on the website that there is no disconnection policy, LOL. It's in the FAQs. If you put disconnection in the search, they contradict their own website.
Oh, somebody's got to screenshot that.
Oh, yes.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'll do it right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So they don't even have their story straight on their own website.
No, of course not. Nobody has had enough sleep in
That's
Scientology to be thorough and change their story everywhere.
Right.
I mean,
I just want to make this fair.
Always going to get caught.
I'm going to go check it out. Osa, you're on the clock. Can you change the site before I can find it? Okay. Start.
Yeah. Oops.
Ready, steady, go.
Okay, we're having an interwebs competition here, folks. This is going to be fun. Mark's going to win this. I have a feeling.
Yeah,
it's definitely true, though. Can I add in what you said about how they're inconsistent with this policy too, and sometimes they don't follow the policy, so they can try to, maybe minimize some damage that they think is coming, and then they switch it up and enforce it. So that happened to me with my ex-husband and his mother. So he had a lot of interaction with David Miscavige and David Miscavige's direct juniors when he was doing the Joburg org renovations. And when he decided to leave the Sea Org, and when we left the Sea Org, shortly after, Chris is my ex-husband, his mother was declared because she blew the Tampa org after being on staff there. And he was allowed to continue communicating with her because they didn't want him to turn into an enemy. So they let him, for like a couple of months, remain connected to his declared mother. But he continued to do his research and speak to Marty Rathbun and whatever, and then eventually decided, I'm not a Scientologist anymore. And when they found out that I was also leaving Scientology with him and was planning to talk to my parents, they put the kibosh on it for both of us and declared us. But prior to that, he was allowed to talk to his mother, who was a declared SP, because that was keeping him happy. They thought that was keeping him happy and not having him turn into a worse problem for them. But then once we were both declared, and all of our family had to disconnect from us. So they don't follow it standardly. They pick and choose. They do whatever they want. They do it sometimes. They don't do it other times.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay, Mr. Headley. Do you have the goods?
Just prepping it for StreamYard. I'll just give me a second.
Good.
I have it though. I have both of them, and the person's right. It says it right there. There's no such. It basically says just what Tommy says.
Oh my God!
Insanity.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So it says what is disconnection, and then it has a whole bunch of nonsense about it. But then at the very bottom, it says.
There is no Scientology disconnection policy that requires church members to disconnect from anyone, let alone family and friends who simply have different beliefs. Ha!
Oh, really? Is that why my children have never met their grandparents?
And this is exactly what I was saying
Not
before,
okay.
this sentence is what Tommy Davis said on
Yes.
that interview. This whole exact thing is exactly what he said. So this was already pre-written and Tommy Davis said it, and then they updated everything to say this, and they just haven't gone back and taken it off. So,
And as you said, they love to double down. To the contrary, the moral code of Scientology mandates that Scientologists respect the religious beliefs of others. The church encourages excellent family relationships, Scientologists or not, and family relations routinely improve with Scientology because the Scientologist learns how to increase communication and resolve any problems that may have previously existed.
Oh, is that so? Is that why you have many, many family members doing hate videos on us simply because we escaped Scientology with the clothes on our backs, after which you chased after us and crossed state lines in an attempt to bring us back? I mean, worlds apart. Like the level of lie is just so infuriating.
I know.
Even still, like this whole point about improved communication skills. So if their communication skills are so good, why can't they talk to us and hear what we have to say and decide for themselves? Like, why can't they handle our communication? We have things to say. We want to tell our parents that, you know, here's what really happened. If their skills are so good, they'll be able to hear it and listen and, you know, decide for themselves. But they
and
don't
confront and shatter us.
Right. And they don't even have the opportunity because anyway, it's ridiculous. It's such a like double speak, you know?
Yeah. Newspeak from George Orwell's 1984. Newspeak. That's what it's called.
Claire, I think it might be a good point to mention the Connect.
Yes. Yes. Okay, people. To all of the people watching here, as you can tell, we have all personally been impacted at very deep levels by disconnection. And we're also, obviously everyone knows, all the four of us here work with the Aftermath Foundation on the board. And we have just launched a new initiative of the Aftermath Foundation called Aftermath Connect. And so if you go to the Aftermath Foundation website now, you'll see a tab that says Missing Persons. And in the theme of and continuing the strength and courage of Leah Remini when she left Scientology and filed a missing persons report on Shelley Miscavige, we integrated that theme for the many other people that are in Scientology that nobody has heard from in many, many years. So if you go to this missing person page, it's a dedicated initiative that the Aftermath Foundation is just launching. We'll obviously be putting this in our newsletter that's coming out shortly and talk about this at our next fundraiser. But if you have a loved one in Scientology that you've lost contact with, you can submit a page with a message to that person. Anyone else that has information on that person can also submit that. Anyone that knew that person can post messages to that person. And this is the Aftermath Foundation's answer to fighting and exposing and targeting the destructive and evil practice of disconnection. So please help us spread the word and go check it out. We already have a few listings there. It's just in the baby steps of launch. But the idea is that we will create a directory of all the loved ones we've lost in Scientology where we can post messages to those people. And should that person come across their page, then they can say, yes, I want to reconnect. And it will obviously take care of all the logistics of that.
You want me to show it?
Yes. Please.
Okay.
I knew you were frantically typing away there.
I know. I'm sorry if I was clickety-clacking and blippity blopping.
This is one of our many passions of, battling Scientology and hopefully abolishing the practice of disconnection from Earth.
There it is.
Okay, there we go. So from the homepage of the Aftermath Foundation, you click on Missing Persons, and this is the page. And so if you click on where it says Missing Someone, Missing Persons Directory, that's where you can submit a page for any person that you've lost to Scientology. You can post a message to them. You can do it anonymously or with your name, doesn't matter. And Amy Scobie, who is also part of the board of the Aftermath Foundation, will be the person reviewing the submissions. Obviously, we have certain restrictions. We're not going to, this is not about hate or belief or anything else. This is about reconnecting with loved ones. That is the beginning and the end of this initiative. On the spshop.com, we actually have a Reconnect the Disconnected shirt. So
Oh, we do.
Nice.
We do.
Oh, I
Yes.
want one of those.
Yes, I'll send you one right after this. That shirt was designed with this initiative in mind, that, you know, we were going to make a distinct effort to put our foot down and say, you know what, Earth, people, families, loved ones, disconnection is not okay. This is not okay. It is somebody's fundamental human right to have a relationship with their family as a basic building block of humanity.
Yes.
Excellent.
Amen.
Awesome.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to do some questions.
Yes, some
Comments,
cuestiones.
whatever. I
And-
started that one just because it was Phil, and he has got one of the more. He and Willie have one of the more famous and sad disconnection stories ever. So,
Yes.
hey,
Yes.
Phil.
But
Yeah, and
by the way, Phil authorized us to use the Call Me billboard artwork
Oh,
on the
nice.
Aftermath Connect page, so we will be adding that
Oh,
Nice.
as
great.
well. Yes.
And his good comment, restored to good standing means joining
Joining
Scientology
Scientology.
again.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no other
Exactly.
good standing. You have to
Yeah.
be back in the church.
No, and for Mark and I, just to be specific, that means we'd have to pay $160,000 to Scientology. We'd have to, go.
And they wouldn't accept you back.
Of
You
course
two
they
don't
wouldn't.
have, they pretend to have a reentry program for everybody, but it's really not for everybody. It's
No.
only for the people they will actually accept. And we aren't on that list.
That's
yeah,
right.
the steps
Not
to
that we
get
want to be, but
I'm
we're
grateful.
just not.
I'm
Yeah.
grateful. I earned my spot on the never
Yeah.
to be accepted
course.
backlist.
But it's just a totally untrue statement that everyone's
Yes.
welcome back if they do the right steps. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
Well-
not
just
true.
just as it's untrue to say that they encourage family relationships. I mean,
Right.
really?
Right.
Ask my mother if she. Anyway, whatever. That's
Yes.
we'll
But the
abort.
steps to get back in are called the A to E steps, which you will hear us talk about on different episodes, specifically in the spy files, because OSA are telling people to get through their A to E steps in all these files. But the A step, the step A, is to write up all of the things that you've been doing and basically confess to all your crimes that made you leave Scientology, and to say, I will stop committing these crimes. And so that's the first step. And then you have to pay the money. Their step to approve you to get back in is after you've done everything they need to do to neuter you as a threat. Once they've done all those things, then they may or may not decide to let you back in. But
Right.
either way, they've got enough ammunition on you so that if you do attack them, then they can pull up these things saying, "Oh, you admitted that you did all these crimes, and that's why you left Scientology." And you'll say anything to be able to talk to your family again. So people write up whatever they want them to write up.
And as you know, Mark, from personal experience, they also ask that people turn on and provide information about others who have spoken out about
Yes.
Scientology.
Yes, like they did with us when
Right.
in our lawsuit, when in the final judge ruling, we were ordered to pay $43,000 and change in court costs. And our lawyer said, hey, look, our clients will walk away, just waive this bill. And Scientology said, nope, you've got to turn over the rights to Mark's book, Blown for Good Behind the Iron Curtain of Scientology. You have to agree to never, ever speak publicly about Scientology ever again. You have to turn over any information of any media person you've ever spoken to about Scientology. And you've got to turn over any and all communication with any former Scientologists you've ever spoken to. And we were like,
and especially at the time,
Marty
Marty
Rathbun.
was
Marty
their
Rathbun.
biggest,
Yes.
he was Scientology's #1 enemy, and they specifically named him in the document and any communications that you've had with Marty. And they would make a deal with us if we would do that. They'd forgive that money.
they'd
So,
forgive that bill. And we
Yeah.
said, no, thanks.
And wrote him a
Here's the
check.
cashier's check. And then, of course, our good friend Jason Begay said, oh, you guys should do a fundraiser after the fact of us having paid it. And so we were like, I don't know. And we did a fundraiser. And seriously, to this day, that was one of the most incredible things. We made back the fundraiser filled that hole that we had sold Mark's fan. We had to scramble. I mean, $43,000 is a lot for anybody. I was crying every single day. I was like, oh my God, there are so many good people in this world. This is amazing. And
in a week, we got all the money in a week.
You did.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, oddly enough, Marty donated 9,000 of that from a fund that he had created, a legal fund that he had created for Debbie Cook.
Yes.
And because it was a legal thing, he asked all the people that donated, hey, do you mind if we give this money to the Headleys? And that put us, I think it was over 50K in the end.
It covered the GoFundMe fees and everything else. There wasn't a whole lot of, we donated to other people's GoFundMes after that to
Balance
net
it
out.
out.
You all know I'm a bookkeeper at heart, so things like that really matter to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Free Xenu Project of Forsec. Fellowship? Seriously, what does little baby Davy think he's in? Middle Earth? This is TGAC. Common Scientology. Get your fantasies straight.
Like I
Always.
said, they are trying to sound like the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons.
Yeah.
Fellowshipping and disfellowshipping is a term that they have made sort of acceptable.
Yeah. I don't know who
Press
started this one. But
I
Skip
did.
Press. Okay. Did you want to say something about it, Mike?
No, just because Skip Press is someone who has been around for a very, very, very long time, speaking out about Scientology. And I just thought that was a very apropos quote. This is good, but I don't think hell is going to freeze over until they get David Miscavige firmly inside.
Yes.
You're right, Skip.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
One other thing before I forget, in one of those quotes that you read, the very first line said it is very rare for someone to be a declared.
Oh my God.
There are more declared suppressive persons from Scientology than there are members of Scientology. In the 1990s, they issued a list of suppressive persons and groups that was tens of thousands of people long, and that was in the 90s, and they've been declaring people full time since the 90s. So I would absolutely guarantee that it is not rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely fair to say there are more people whose lives have been devastatingly impacted by disconnection than there are Scientologists.
Yeah.
Yep. And Kimberly Stovall, fellowship is so Baptist. I'm a Baptist preacher's kid. If someone is kicked out, it just means they are no longer members, but their family are still allowed to have them in their lives. Use of fellowship is a dog whistle.
Great.
It
point.
is.
Absolutely right.
It really is.
Those people just can't come to the church sometimes.
Right. Yeah. They still talk to their families. They still go to Thanksgiving and Christmas and whatever.
That is an important thing to bring up. I know there are some other religions where the shunning, this disfellowship, shunning, fellowship, whatever, there's graduating scales of it. And maybe Mike is right. Maybe it's more akin to the JW version than it is to the Baptist version. But they know that several religions have that same kind of terminology. So they're playing into that.
They're trying to make themselves seem more normal.
Yeah.
Right. But in practice, I also firmly think it's fair to say that disconnection is more cruel than death. I really do.
It's horrible. There's no closure. There's no closure whatsoever. My father disconnected from me. The last thing I heard from him was his smear video that he posted, and then he died, and that's it. So there's no resolution. There's, it's awful. It's really, really awful.
Yeah.
Angela Leah Joy Anderson. We are not Scientologists. My daughter, age 16, wants to go to Delphian. Can you go and graduate and not be a Scientologist? Technically,
Don't
Technically
go.
you can. But,
technically you can, and they do accept non-Scientologists, but they are an indoctrination school. So you do not want to let your daughter go there if you really can convince her of
a large majority.
Because she's going to be surrounded. All of her friends are going to be Scientologists.
Yeah.
All their parents are going to be Scientologists.
Children at that age are incredibly impressionable. Peer pressure is a real thing. We've all lived through it. We all know it. Christy, you and I have teenagers. We know what this is. And
Mark and I went to Delphi.
Yes.
Yeah, Delphi is the number one source of
dangerous.
Recruits for the Sea organization. At the end base, there was at least 30 or 40 people there that all came from Delphi.
Many.
And same thing in Los Angeles. Yeah. There were hundreds of staff and Sea Org members in the Los Angeles area near the Delphi school that they recruit them from the school sometimes. They go to the school and recruit them.
The teachers are Scientologists. The curriculum has covert Scientology in it.
Yeah.
It's a Scientology indoctrination school. So we don't recommend it.
If I were the parent of this daughter, I would find out in depth exactly why she wants to go to Delphian.
She's 16. She can watch the aftermath.
Yes, exactly.
She's old enough to watch the aftermath. I would put her on watch the aftermath, or watch any of these YouTube videos where Mark and I have talked about Delphi. I did a whole video with Amy Scobie where I talked in depth about my experiences at Delphi. The recruiters showed up on the campus.
Yes.
The guy
that girl, Jamie Wasserman, was a Delphi student. The story that Christy was telling, that was Delphi.
Yeah.
The guy that's being sued right now, or that's part of the lawsuit, the recruiter, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name?
Gavin Potter.
Gavin Potter showed up in full Class A, which is their fancy uniform, to Delphi, fake Navy uniform, to recruit young girls mostly, and that they're not safe there. So that's we're warning you.
Yeah. Keep her far away. Find something else that fixes whatever it is the reason she wants to go there in the first place. Yeah. There are many other accredited, valid, encouraging, forms of replacing that.
And that's a good point too. The Delphi says they're accredited. I know several students that ended up leaving Scientology, but they graduated from the Delphian Foundation, or whatever they call it. Is it called the Delphian Foundation? Or
the Delphian School, I think is the real
Anyway,
name.
When they went to go to college, they ended up having to do all sorts of additional courses and other things to be able to even be accepted to college, because the stuff that they did at the Delphi Academy was useless and not recognized by any legitimate college or advanced education degrees that you'd like to get. So it's not a good idea. It's super expensive. It's a ton of Hubbard. All of the curriculum that Delphi uses is based on the works of L. Ron Hubbard. So they just take Scientology.
Not to mention the fact that we're all living proof Scientology will destroy your family, weaponize them against you, and
we're really hot on this question.
Yeah.
Exactly. No,
don't do it. Don't do it. If you do it and something goes wrong, we done told you so. Okay. And
no, 16 is way
Mike
too
wants
young.
to say something, and we're not even letting him talk. We're just going and going and going. Mike, what did you want to say to sweet Angela?
It's not even that important at this point, but I was going to say, look, even if you do not graduate calling yourself a Scientologist, you will graduate applying L. Ron Hubbard technology to your life, because you must employ L. Ron Hubbard study technology in order to participate in any of the courses at a Delphian Academy. So you will, in fact, be, by Scientology's definition of a Scientologist, by reason of applying the technology of L. Ron Hubbard in your life.
All right, here we go. Tenacious Art Girl. We've managed to finish the Delphi topic. It's amazing.
Yay.
Of all the ex-Scientologists y'all personally know, what percentage do you think ever join another religion after escaping Scientology, or do the majority avoid any kind of religion permanently?
I would say
It's hard to say, but
my answer to that is just ballpark based on what I know. I think probably about 5% find a religion afterwards. Quite frankly, speaking for myself, organized religion carries a lot of trauma, and I'm still in recovery from that. So, there you have it.
And always will be.
Yeah, exactly. That's my answer to that. I hold no grudges against anybody. I know there are many real religions. I've had some amazing talks with some ladies who are Buddhists and other things that I have honestly found fascinating. I'm just like, let me read a book, and please do not ever tell me what to think about anything. I will literally show you the highway to hell.
Yes. Dawn in YO. Mike, Christy, Claire, Mark, I love you all. My blah, blah, blah shirt is coming. Have Mike's signed book. Want Mark's and Claire's book signed as well. Comment. The Amish shun seems to be a religious thing. I'm currently shunned from AG Christianity. Yes, it is a religious thing. And there are other religions and cults and organizations that do it. It's not just Scientology.
What's AG?
Thanks, Don.
Do you know what AG Christianity is?
I don't know.
I can look.
Can somebody in the comments please tell us what AG means? We have a misunderstood word.
Yes, we're going to all fall asleep.
Okay, here's a good one. Barb tries. Question: what is the LRH policy covering disconnection? Like, what is the L. Ron Hubbard policy?
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah.
So which policy is it though? I think
Mark,
you're muted,
you're
Mark.
muted.
Sorry.
It's related to this whole technology, which is the PTS-SP technology of L. Ron Hubbard. If you're a suppressive person and you suppress other people, those people are considered potential trouble sources. And there's L. Ron Hubbard policies about that. And the only way you can not be a potential trouble source is to disconnect from the source of the suppression. So it's in the ethics book. There's other Mike, do you want to specifically?
Well, actually, what Hubbard actually says is, and this is where the fudging always comes in. He says, handle or disconnect. In other words, you're supposed to handle the person to be fine about your participation in Scientology, or to understand that their criticism was not well-founded or whatever. And that gets used to explain that this is a personal choice, and this, you get to decide how you're going to deal with this. But in actual fact, it is a suppressive act in Scientology to remain connected to someone declared a suppressive person by Scientology.
Right.
They don't make mention of that part. And that's what was so remarkable about that thing we read in the beginning, is that in euphemistic terms, they are acknowledging that is the fact, that it is dictated by Scientology who an SP is, and that a Scientologist may not be in communication with them. Well, they lose their fellowship with them until they are restored to good standing.
Yep.
And there's L. Ron Hubbard policies that list the suppressive acts. So that policy.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. It's a high crime to have a communication or be connected to a suppressive person in Scientology.
Okay, Assembly of God. Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah,
thank you,
Dawn. We appreciate it.
John, is the Scientology website managed by INT or middle management?
INT.
Yes. International management.
David Miscavige's people.
Yep. At the top. Linda in Drissy. I have an ex-SIO friend who is now going through a soft disconnect from family. Any advice how to help support them as a never in? Good question.
What's a soft disconnect?
So I think it means that they're basically distancing themselves from her friend. This is my interpretation of that. And I would just encourage the ex-Scientologist friend to just let every family member know that he or she loves them, accepts them, and will always be there for them. That's what I wish I'd had the chance to tell my siblings still in Scientology, that no matter what, if that they could, I would always tell them exactly what happened, and I will always be there for them no matter what happens. No questions asked. I do not judge them. I do not judge them for their beliefs, but I will be there for them. That's what I would suggest.
Good advice, Claire Bear.
Thank you.
Ken's channel. Dated a JW 30 years ago. First, she said she stopped going. After a month, she started going more often and then broke up with me. I now feel sorry for her because now I know she had to choose shunning or me. I don't blame her.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we all have those professional grade elephant-sized rear view mirrors that are really irritating sometimes. But, you know, it's okay.
Yep. Catherine S. It's like they're doing you a favor by letting you talk to your family when they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
Exactly. Great point.
Oh my God.
That's a great comment.
So evil. It's so evil that they have that level of control. It's
I'm going to tell you guys the good side of this, though. This is not all bad news here.
No.
Because we have a thing where we hang out with our neighbors on Fridays. And every Friday, I get to hear about the mother-in-law this and the brother-in-law that and the son-in-law this. And I always think to myself, dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, and also too, like, all joking aside, I was greatly impacted by the fact of our kids not knowing our parents until I realized that the significance I was placing on it was because of my relationship with my mother and wanting my mother to have a relationship with my kids. And it's her choice not to. And unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that she has made herself strangers to our kids, as has Mark's mom. And so we went to a funeral when our kids were still pretty little, like our oldest was 6 or 7. And for whatever reason, again, like you were saying, Christy, when they alter things, it's just cruel. Mm-hmm. Mark's mom put on this show like, oh, hey,
she talked to us the whole day.
And her family were like, oh my God, this is amazing. She's talking to you guys. And we were like,
I even told him, I said, watch, this is a show for you guys so that you'll back off on being critical of Scientology as well, because otherwise she'll have to disconnect from you, because they'd all read my book and they knew everything. And then she said, oh, I'll send you some pictures of my sister. And she was talking to the kids. The boys didn't want anything to do with her.
No,
they're like, who is this? Who is this woman?
We had to tell our oldest son, that's Dad's mom. That's your grandma. And it didn't matter at that point what we said, because she was a stranger. Right. Yeah. It's not from anything. We've never said anything bad to our kids about our family, except that we're honest with them. And we say, you know what? Sometimes, unfortunately, family members make bad choices and they get involved in organizations that control their decisions as to who they can and can't talk to. And hopefully one day our family will wake up and reunite with us. It's nothing you've done. It's nothing we've done. It's just that they're in a dangerous organization that controls who they can talk to. And that's the reality.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, poor Jack, he's had a few years where they had Grandparents' Day or they had this or they had that. And it's like, I don't have a grandparent. And we had a friend go and be the adopted grandparent.
We'll come anytime, Christy. We'll come anytime.
It was Uncle Paul, and it was the sweetest thing. And I was so grateful that he went on Grandparents' Day with Jack so he could have somebody and not be the only kid without a grandparent. Yeah. And, it's just stuff like that is just so mean and just breaks your heart.
It really does. It shows you the level of depravity that Scientology will stoop to in terms of destroying families.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Next comment. I heard that COB Miscavige is starting, this is from Rune Sky Sting. Sorry, I didn't say that at first. I heard that COB Miscavige is starting a cryptocurrency. I wonder what it will be named. Theta Bucks or maybe Engrams coin?
Theta Bucks. He's going to call...
Oh my goodness.
BT coin.
Salty Beach Girl Lori. To be fair, how many people get past page 1 on website?
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Yeah.
Who even goes to that website besides the
Nobody.
click farm, the click farms they hire? They have, you guys, you got to see this sometime. They have Scientology has a web page or a YouTube channel, and it just plays whatever's on Scientology TV. It just plays all day and all night on their channel. But and whenever you go in there, there's like 4 people watching. But they have videos like their Super Bowl ads or videos that they're trying to promote that have 50 million views, but they only have like 80,000 subscribers. And so you see, oh yeah, they were paying click farms to get their stuff watched. That's the only way they're getting their numbers up. It's ridiculous.
So ridiculous. OG Tebow, question. Does COS encourage someone to drop the body if they can't get off psych meds because they want to unalive?
Well, first of all, you can't even be in Scientology if you're on psychiatric medicines. That's just any kind of psychiatric care is forbidden in Scientology. Yep. But they do. If somebody is near unaliving themselves, they will tell them to drop the body. That is a command that they give them to drop this body, and they try to kind of guide them to the when they should pick up.
Yeah, but
my sister.
That's not when someone is actually in that frame of mind. That's when someone is terminal in their illness.
Yeah.
It's not that it's some, otherwise physically healthy person who's made a decision that they no longer wish to live.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. They are
Willie
losing
Jones.
it.
Hey, Willie and Phil. We got them
Yay.
both.
Yeah.
Thank
Willie
you
is Emily's
all
mom.
for bringing this to light. We still have hope to reconnect with our 2 children.
Yes.
Willie
we
is
all do.
Phil's wife, who was on here
You know
earlier.
what? You know what Scientology can't take from us? Hope.
No.
Boom. There you go.
Okay, and Phil again here. Phil Jones, we put our 2 kids' info up on the Aftermath Connect site. Thank you so much for doing this.
Amazing.
Great.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I hope everybody can share and help us spread the word on this initiative. It is a project that is fueled by our passion to stop disconnection. So
Yes. Free Xenu Project of Farsec. My heart goes out to all 4 of you and everyone that has had this disconnection or whatever they call it, put you through torment that is inhuman. The cult of Scientology must end.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Anon A, I'm glad you found it, Mark. It proved the lying right on their website. They can't both be true.
It's so
incredible.
ridiculous.
Yes.
Thank you, Anon A.
Yes.
It's so funny to me that our chat knows more about their website than Scientology
Yes.
does.
For real. They do.
I
How
know,
is that
that's-
even possible? That's so unfathomable that the chat on our stream knows Scientology's website better than they do.
That's probably why there's Scientology is so dead set on watching every single minute of SPTV live.
They get more info on them than anything else.
Yeah. Blow Me in Chicago.
Okay.
Scientology in
Yikes.
Chicago isn't doing that great. They invited me to a barbecue and asked me to bring food. I didn't go. This month, it's an art fair without art.
That's so funny because everyone you talk to in Scientology, they don't get a lot of money at the orgs. They don't have money to pay. They don't have money to pay for dry cleaning. They don't have money to pay for barbecues they're throwing, but they have billions of dollars is because all of it gets sucked to the top by David Miscavige with this giant cash vacuum. And so he's eating, sushi dinners flown in from the coast and wearing his $50,000 suits and Italian loafers, but they don't have money for a barbecue in Chicago.
It's ridiculous.
Well, what's even worse about this is there are all the ads going out now for join us for Thanksgiving. It's a potluck.
Oh my God.
Like the church can't even, provide a turkey for Thanksgiving. It's
BYOF.
Well, those Sea Org members aren't going to have Thanksgiving unless you show up with some food.
Yeah, we had peanut butter on Thanksgiving.
We should ship turkeys to all of the orgs with Aftermath Foundation cards, curious cards.
Here's a question for Mark. Japan of Green Gables. Question, Mark, did your auditor Thomas have to disconnect from you?
Yes. He disconnected me so bad he doesn't even know if he's ever met an SP.
Oh my God, honey. How long have you had that in the coffers waiting to say?
No, I'm saying just
For those who don't know, Tom Cruise is who she's referring to.
Yeah, Tom Cruise was my
That's
auditor.
a he, by the way.
Yeah.
Japan of Green Gables is a he.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh my God, that was
he doesn't
the
even
best
know. He doesn't even
answer ever.
remember meeting an SP.
Right.
That was the best.
Just in case.
He's
they didn't
been
know.
waiting for that question. He may have sent out to people saying, please ask this question, because I've got a great line in response.
I don't even know what I said. That was so funny.
Well, it was just the perfect comeback. I mean, it was like...
Have you ever met a Scientologist?
Clip that. Kaden, clip that.
Yeah, this is a line that Tom
God.
Cruise. Yeah, okay. Lithanda Grockling. Disconnection wouldn't work if every Scientologist would ignore it. They can't throw out everyone. It shows what fear does to people. Love from Germany.
Yes,
Completely.
thank you.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yep.
I was going to say a lot of those people that are going on these shows, they're getting yelled at by David Miscavige seconds before they're going on live.
Yes.
And so whatever that last thing he said, like if you mess this up, you're never coming home, Mike. That's what you're thinking about while that guy's saying, is it true Dave Miscavige is abusive? You're saying, you're literally trying to fight the recollection from 8 seconds ago while they're asking you that question.
Well, it can be even worse than that. I've had it where I was doing a live TV interview, and Marty one time, Greg Wilhair another time, was standing in front of me while I was doing the interview, talking on the phone with Dave, who was watching the interview, and telling them to tell me to say X, Y, and Z in the middle of the
while you're
interview.
doing the interview. Oh my goodness. So I was off by about 8 seconds because it was real time.
It was real time. The same thing used to happen when Marty and I were talking to Tom Tobin and Joe Childs at the Tampa Bay Times, or the St. Pete Times then. He literally was standing. We had to hold the phone like this so he could listen to what they were saying, and then he would furiously be
writing,
scribbling notes or having loose scribbled notes of this is what you have to say. And it would be like held in our faces with fingers like, you have to say this. And the conversation may have moved on to something completely different, and it would be completely non sequitur to say what was now on the page. Didn't matter.
Yeah, you still have to say what he wrote.
Anything that you managed to accomplish, Mike, that was good or that was needed was in spite of him.
Yeah.
Really. He just made it so much harder. Okay.
Yeah. If people only knew what he was doing behind the scenes.
Yeah. Miss Chief X question. Do you think that any of your family members will ever leave the cult?
I do.
Yes, that's the hope. That is the eternal hope.
I have hope for possibly my siblings. I feel very doubtful that my mother will leave, but my siblings are younger than me, so they have a lot of life left in them. So I'm very hopeful for that.
Yep.
Nice.
Possibly.
And like I said earlier, the only thing Scientology can't take from us when it comes to family is hope.
Yeah.
There you go, Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Shelley Outlaw question. Is there a need to connect disconnected individuals with volunteer families for the holidays?
That's a beautiful thought. Yes, we'll give that some thought because very possibly, yes.
Dr. X, sharing love around. Do you all think your family want to speak to you, but due to disconnection policy, they are afraid to, or are they so indoctrinated that it won't matter if policy doesn't exist? Mike, Aussie versus SASF, who wins?
Oh, Australia wins. There's no question.
And so,
well, there's sort of a question, but not in my mind.
But a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Or on the family, speaking for ourselves, at least, we've had enough instances to know that the only reason our family doesn't talk to us is because of the fear imposed by Scientology.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, they were talking to us right up until they weren't. Even Claire's mom talked to us after she was told not to.
Yep.
And she talked to us for a little bit more. And then when she was she knew she was gonna get interrogated. She said, "Okay, I gotta stop now because they're gonna interrogate me, and if I keep talking to you, I'm pretty sure it'll come up."
yeah, and then she'd have to choose between me and my 3 other siblings
And her husband.
And her husband, and that's just not. That's cruelty right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we get it.
It's the same. Like my mother spoke to me right up until the end, and then a little bit more, right? Very around that time. And in the beginning, yes, I do think she wanted to speak to me and continued and didn't think anything badly about me. But over time, they're thoroughly convinced that me and Mike are horrible people. I'm married to Mike Rinder, this horrible, horrible man. So therefore, I'm a horrible person. So at this point, they've washed their hands completely and probably don't even think about it.
They do think about it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Claire.
Yep.
Okay. Single loner. Claire, I travel with a stack of Aftermath Foundation cards with me, and I'm generous with them. Thank you.
Thank you, single loner. And we have new cards, so we'll figure out how to carry
You should
that.
just put the file up on the site and people can download it.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
The list of suppressive persons is a video on my website. I put the entire list into a video, and it just scrolls every single name. If you want to find your name, it's probably alphabetical, so you just put it on slow speed and you can watch it. But that video is, that was one of the very first videos I made on YouTube, was every person and group that had been declared as suppressive by Scientology.
Yep.
It's a big list. Danielle Chamberlain, question. Can we please take a minute to remember Mick Wenlock, who passed away this past week? May he rest in peace.
Yes, I saw that.
I did not know that until I saw
either.
that comment, and I saw that comment, and I nearly started crying.
I'm sorry. I
Mick,
marked that because I knew I've followed on Facebook and I knew.
I know, and Mick was. I did a mission with Mick Wenlock when I was first in the Sea Org in like 1975 or something, and we went to AOLA, and he was the nicest, funniest, big old teddy bear of a guy that you could ever want to meet. And he and his wife have been around for a long time, helping a lot of people. They have a son who they adore and have. I just couldn't say enough nice things. I'm
sorry, Mike. It's We
Sorry.
love Mick. Yeah, I'm sorry to have marked that in.
No, I'm happy you did. I didn't know.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't know though. Otherwise, I would have handled that.
I will
differently,
write to Nancy after we get off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Mick.
Yes, rest in peace,
rest in
and
peace, Mick.
condolences to all the family.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Catherine S. Study tech. Get ready to get anxious if you yawn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life. You can never yawn again without feeling.
In Scientology, per L. Ron Hubbard, if you are studying or you're reading something and you yawn, that means you have a misunderstood word and you need to go get a dictionary and you need to look it up. So if you're studying anything around anybody who's in Scientology and you yawn, you have to just go get a dictionary and look at it, because otherwise they're going to be like, you're going to look up that word you passed that you didn't under.
Yeah.
That's also a crime in Scientology. To knowingly go past misunderstood words is illegal in Scientology.
Yeah, but you want to know something funny? Do you know what every Scientologist is an expert at?
Suppressing a yawn. I can
so
almost
true.
do it, but the very sides of my nose just turn white for a millisecond. And Claire knows this because in her course room, I'd just be sitting there and be like, And then if she would see my nose get white, she'd be like, do you want to take a look and see if there's a word there? And I'd be like, God damn it.
Of all the skills you have to learn to survive Scientology, suppressing a yawn.
Suppressing a yawn. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Akaside music. When people leave Scientology, I imagine it would be quite traumatizing. Are people reluctant to get therapy?
Yes.
Many are.
Yes, they are.
Some are not. But
That's why I'm starting my Ask a Therapist series. It's going to be fascinating.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about that.
Yeah, I know. It's
Sounds
just to be like, hey, okay, you're a therapist. I was born in a cult, spent 30 years, and was taught that psychology and psychiatry are completely evil. They're the whole track people bent on destroying all mankind.
Right.
They work for Xenu. They used to work for Xenu.
Yeah,
the psychiatrists.
So let's normalize this and talk about it and compare auditing and what did L. Ron Hubbard plagiarize from psychology and psychiatry, and not as a you have to go get therapy, but just normalize it.
Right. Yeah. Billy Bob 123. Mark, just FYI, I am the original Billy Bob. There was an imposter in the chat before, and I agree. Disconnection is not good.
Thank you, Billy Bob 123.
Oh my gosh,
I knew that
is
Billy Bob
amazing.
1234 wasn't an imposter.
Yeah,
I knew that.
Seriously, we can see an imposter from a mile away.
Yeah.
We have good
There you
OSA ingrained skills. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That clears that up.
Yes.
Valerie Bolajak. Amish shunning is different. Children are given 18 months to explore the world outside. If they choose to go English, they are not shunned. If they come back and take a vow to God to remain in this faith and break it, that's the shunning event.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So see, even the Amish are more forgiving and more receptive and more promoting
Modern.
of family relationships than Scientology.
I actually watched a whole episode on this, and that's exactly what happens when they get to a certain age. They let them go out, and they say, go be kids and go do what you're going to do. And if when you do all that, you decide, no, I'd rather go back to the way we live life, then you come back. And if you don't, then that's up to you. So it is what it is.
It is very different because we are told, well, go out, be part of the world, but that's all the wogs and they're all bad and everything's horrible. And so,
you're going to be flipping burgers the rest of your life, and they're all drug dealers.
Everything is bad. Only we are good.
Yeah.
Mark the Dorset SP. I heard a stat that there were 70 to 80,000 clears ever passed since the 1950s. Half have either have died or been declared. Is this true stat? If so, with 8 billion people on Earth, it shows clearing the planet is not working.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's mathematically impossible. They can't even clear.
Clears.
Yeah. They can't even clear their zip code. How are they going to clear the planet?
But that is correct. Scientology numbers and gives you a clear number. Now, the fact that they are up to about 79,000, I think was the last one I put on my blog, doesn't mean that there have actually been 79,000, because every org gets allocated like maybe 1,000. So Detroit org may have the numbers for the clears that they make of 67,001 through 67,500. They may be up to 67,002 by now, leaving 498 numbers out of the 80,000 that have not actually had a clear attached to them. So the maximum is 80,000.
Yeah.
Over the entire history of Scientology.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, at least if let's just pretend there's 50 real thousand, at least 40 of those are either declared or dead or not in Scientology anymore anyway. So it's a total joke that they think they're going to clear the planet. And if any Scientologist is watching this, I hate to break it to you, but mathematically, you should just put your broom down and go back to the real world, and
actually the planet is getting less clear each day.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly true. I've done this on my blog many times. How many people are born each day? How many people die each day or week or month or year? And how many clears are made? So there may be 1,000 clears made this year. If they're lucky, there are another 47 million people added to planet Earth. So they've just gone down by 46,999,999,000.
Yeah. Well, even somebody told me it's only about 100 a year right now. It's not even 1,000 a year. That somebody told me the current statistics, it's about 100 a year, if that.
Prostate Alex. How would OSA go about getting a non-Scientology friend to spy on an ex? Do they just offer money in return for dirt or info, or is it more covert?
I would say, Alex, that it is more covert. It is someone, I mean, the way that they have done it with me in the past is they'll have a PI approach someone and say, we're working on a confidential investigation into human trafficking or into drugs in the neighborhood, drug dealing in the neighborhood. And we have an eye on this particular house over here because blah, 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 blah. And if you have any information that would help us in our investigation to put an end to these horrible crimes that are being committed in your whatever, that's more likely. We're happy to reimburse you for any expenses, blah, blah, blah. So the money comes in eventually, but there is a story, because if you just walk up to someone and say, here, I'm going to pay you £100 or $200 or whatever to give me some dirt on this person, the likelihood is that that person, even if they take the money, is probably going to let you know.
Yeah.
So they try and do it in a fashion where it makes it seem like they're participating in a legitimate investigation that is being done. I mean, I've even had these guys basically say, we're the DEA, you know.
Yeah, right. You threw out a blah, 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 Mike.
I did.
Yeah.
I think I did too.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Catherine Olson, comment. There is an internet unit in Scientology Media Productions that takes care of updating the Scientology website. I'm sure Miscavige has to approve anything done on this.
Yep.
Oh, no question, Catherine.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you
Christie
go.
Lynn Wilson, disconnection isn't just cruel, it's bad strategy. If you want someone's heart to be softened towards your belief system, how would shunning them do that? Scientology isn't faith, but obedience.
Yes.
100%.
I would only change the word obedience to control.
Yes. Both words.
Control and leverage. Yeah.
Beautiful day. I had a pastor tell me the most cruel thing someone can do to another is pretend they don't exist. Hugs to all. Yeah. That's the feeling that you have.
Yeah.
When they disconnect from you, that you don't exist.
That's hardcore. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that you guys just said, leverage. If you guys want to know what L. Ron Hubbard, how he thinks, the Battlefield Earth book is a Scientology origin story. Battlefield Earth. The Cyclos are psychiatrists. That's why they're called the Cyclos. But everything in there is about leverage. The whole movie is about who has the most leverage and how do you get what you want by using leverage against another person. And that really, at the end of the day, is the moral of that story. And that's from L. Ron Hubbard.
And if you want to know how Scientology views the WOG world, Mission Earth.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great example. Mission Earth and Battlefield Earth are Scientology stories cloaked in fiction.
Miss Withholdy, do any of you know what happened to Cal Cole, CO AOLA?
Oh, I remember Cal Cole. I don't know what
so do
happened
I.
to him.
Don't know.
What was his wife's name? Was Chris Cole.
Yes.
Yep. And she's still there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't know
someone knows and they can tell us.
Yeah.
Maybe they can go on the Connect site.
Put it on the missing person directory. There you go.
Yep.
Sarah Forbear, Christy, how did you first meet Mike? Did you know of him beforehand? Yes, I knew of him. Everyone knows of Mike. I first met Mike very, very briefly when I was at the INT base, and he had to brief our team on what was happening, the OSA flaps in the East US before we fired out. And that was the first time I ever met him in the Sea Org. And then after that, we were introduced by a mutual friend, Hayden James, when we were here in Clearwater. So that's how we met.
And the rest is history, folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Claire, you should do a Scientology stories episode with Christy, and it can be on their channel and on our channel.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes,
we did,
definitely.
I
We
didn't-
talked about doing that a long time ago, and then, we folks have lots of things happening. But yes, we'll definitely do that.
But if I say it in here, then other people will get asked you to do it.
You're exerting peer pressure on me to get it done. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Pioneer 863, getting out of Scientology seems like lose-lose process. How many take one own life? Truly scary stuff. More groups like the Aftermath Foundation are needed, and Scientologists must find out that help is available for them.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
unfortunately, that is a problem in Scientology as well, with Sea Org members and Scientologists alike. There's a lot of mental issues that go untreated and unrecognized by Scientology, and unfortunately, I think all of us know somebody who's unalived themselves in Scientology.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
But we do now have a clinical coordinator who's a mental health professional that works with the Aftermath Foundation. We have some amazing programs coming on that front with some just incredible experts that have offered their assistance to, there's already a guidebook in creation, for example, that explains all the terminology and the basic principles of Scientology that somebody offering mental health assistance needs to understand to be able to help somebody who has the mindset of a Scientologist. So we're working on it, but yes, it's absolutely very, very hard, but we're making it as doing everything we can to make it easy for people, or easier for people, to get out.
Yes. Alex is peachy. I work at a housing nonprofit within walking distance of a COS org. Any advice for social workers helping homeless former Scientologists? Can they be referred to the Aftermath Foundation for help?
Absolutely.
Yes. Very
Yeah,
definitely.
They should, Alex, please email Claire, because I think we might be able to. We should talk over email.
We have some resources, and we also have some even other programs that we're not going to talk about publicly that would exactly tie into that. So yes, definitely, please shoot me an email. We will be there. There are things we're doing behind the scenes, let's just say, that are intended to target people who really need help. But at this point, we are literally, we just got our first applicant for the $10,000 annual education grant that we implemented in honor of Rosemary Brown. So we are literally trying to help as many people as we can. We're helping more people currently right now as we speak than we ever have before. So our goal is to keep that growing and growing and growing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Catherine S. If Scientology had Rumspringa, there would be no second gen.
So I Googled this, and this Rumspringa is the thing that we were talking about, or the thing that was mentioned where they're allowed to go out and experience.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's true, because when you see these kids having a good great old time and partying it up, you're like, oh yeah, they would not go back to the Sea Org after that.
Right.
I mean, if somebody had even just offered to adopt me, I would have avoided this organization. Like, seriously.
Yep. Mrs. T. Rush. I missed what blah, blah, blah means.
That's the whole point.
It means nothing.
It's a filler.
It just means etc., more.
It's usually when Mike is explaining something and he could give us another 1,000 words, but then he just puts in blah, blah, blah. Because you could just keep saying more about the same thing.
More.
It's Mike's version of yada, yada, yada.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
All right. We made it to the end.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Guys, bye.